Coming up, a fatal crash on I-44 claims the life of two people after an elderly man police say drove the wrong way. And a Humansville man loses control of not only his car, but his life as well. Also, new details on the legal battle between Newton County and Neosho over unpaid TIF funds. Good Thursday morning and welcome to the Koam Morning News. Boom, TV magic. It's 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. We got plenty of rain still to come on our hands. We're not going to really give up on this until we get to, say about this evening. Now, that's future track and give you an idea of where we stand right now. I think the amazing thing is that we haven't picked up any additional flood watches, minus the one that we still have for the Little Osage River there at the Horton Gauge. But here we are, very pockets of heavy rain. Haven't picked up any lightning. Well, right here in between, say, Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Girard, just staying to the north of Joplin and Carthage, because now what we're having is the counterclockwise motion. If we go back, put this in a 6-hour loop right here, give you a really good indicator about how it's stalled out, and we knew this was coming. So back it falls down on us. As far as what we're looking at, watch and warning-wise, still got the Little Osage flood watch, but look at this. How about wind advisories? That's on top of the rain. We've got wind advisories blowing right now, sustained winds at 24 miles per hour in Independence and 14 at Chanute. A rain-soaked camera in Joplin where we sit at a cool 51 degrees. Really, second consecutive day. Think about our temperatures, the same thing that we did yesterday. No. Same thing that we did yesterday. It's going to just pretty much stay where it is. Big trough of the jet stream has let up in portions of Texas and the Gulf, but still stretching from about Oklahoma and Arkansas all the way to the Canadian border. So look at the panels of rain. They're not going anywhere. And we're going to get additional flood watches and warnings here by the time we get done with this. Because even though the rain begins to lighten up from west to east, still looking at 2.5, 3.5 inches. We'll update our totals here as we progress through the show. 7-day forecast. Nice thing is remember, after this is done, we're still letting the kids have a good looking Halloween. Mostly sunny skies, mild temperatures, and highs around 62 on Sunday. And then, just as an aside, I know we're going to concentrate so much on the rain today, but just as an aside, far right hand of your screen on the 7-day. Monday night into Tuesday, Tuesday night into Wednesday. Probably talking about our first patchy frost of the fall season. 2 people are dead after an elderly man drove the wrong way on I-44 in Jasper County. The Missouri Highway Patrol says Andrew Wilson, a 91-year-old from Neosho, was driving east in the westbound lanes of the interstate 3 miles east of Fidelity, Missouri, Tuesday night. The patrol says they hit a car driven by 58-year-old Janet Edwards of Sarcoxie head-on, and both drivers died at the scene. A single-car crash near Lockwood claims the life of a 45-year-old from Humansville, Missouri. Crash happened on County Road 32, that's 7 miles west of Lockwood. Highway Patrol says Glenn Briggs lost control on a gravel road, hit a fence and flipped his SUV. Briggs died at the scene. Jasper County Health Department reporting 4 more COVID-19 deaths. The patients, 2 men in their 50s and 60s, 2 women, both in their 80s. These latest deaths bring the county's total to 235. City of Joplin is experiencing an increased number of suspected arsons in the area. All are either arson in the 1st or 2nd degree, and according to the Joplin Police Department, Christopher L. Smith of Joplin has been charged with arson in the 1st degree, as well as 6 counts of child endangerment after using a butane lighter to set the window frame of a residence on fire. Police say Smith was suicidal, and they responded to that call a day before his arrest. Davis tells us Smith got into an argument with his girlfriend, then tried to self-harm, left the residence, came back early in the morning and tried to get in before setting the window frame on fire. For more information, you can find the full story on our website. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Starting Monday, all public safety communications in Ottawa County, Oklahoma will run through a single dispatch center. The Miami, Oklahoma Police Department says if you dial 911 for an emergency anywhere in Ottawa County, the Miami PD will dispatch officers for your jurisdiction. Police Department says the change provides a faster response and better service to county residents. We're learning more about a lawsuit filed by the city of Neosho against Newton County. The city filed the suit earlier this month to recover TIF money that Newton County has not paid to the city. The TIF was established back in 1999 to help fund improvements within the city of Neosho. County made payments to the city until September of 2015. Now, according to documents received by KOAM, the last payment the city received for just over $24,000.
The county has an obligation under state law to collect, allocate, and pay that money, and it just hasn't done it. And so now the city hopes to recover that money, along with the interest that might be due from non-payment of that money over that period of time.
Later in the show, we'll hear more from the attorney representing the city of Neosho, as well as what Newton's County presiding commissioner had to say about the suit. Yesterday, Freeman Health System held its COVID media briefing discussing the neurological side effects of COVID-19. The National Institutes of Health created a database to track neurological symptoms associated with the pandemic, and some of those include headache, loss of smell, or rarer problems such as stroke, brain disease, or brain damage. However, some area medical professionals are noticing another trend. People who were initially asymptomatic had COVID without knowing it and are showing long hauler symptoms.
Sometimes the long COVID or the long haulers, it has nothing to do with the severity of COVID-19 acute symptoms they had. So our patients, if you check their antibodies later, they have antibodies, if they were not vaccinated, and then you realize that they did had an infection at some time, and they still have symptoms of chronic fatigue, headaches, mental fog, and they were not sick with COVID.
Dr. O'Poole says it's important to seek medical attention if you experience any of the neurological symptoms associated with COVID-19. The Pittsburgh Community Theater is sinking its teeth into a new production, and last night got a little taste of it. The theater performing Bram Stoker's Dracula. We got a chance to check out the production before its official debut, as the show's a perfect date night opportunity. Don't bring the kids, however. Community Theater saying it's a show with lots of frights.
It was a surprise, and I wasn't expecting to be like the bad guy, but it feels kind of good. I get to be angry, I get to yell, I get to run around. I like putting lots of energy into my roles, and Dracula definitely gets to bring the heat.
Here are your accompanying show times. We're going to roll it at 7 o'clock on Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 on Saturday, and then the grand finale, 2 p.m., appropriately taking place on Halloween. Over to the Skywatch storm tracker. That gives you an idea of why it's going to rain all day long, because now that Mother Nature put the brakes on our front, it's going to drop down from north to south on us. Counterclockwise motion. We only have one flood watch in effect. That's for the Little Osage River in Vernon County, Missouri, but please know flash flooding a distinct possibility, as everything is going to be slow moving and last all the way into the nighttime hours. Friday, we finally get a little bit of a break by late Friday morning, and then still setting up for a delightful looking Halloween weekend. That brings top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, fresh off their first district title in 30 years. Joplin Eagles look to extend their win streak against Nixa in the quest for a state title. And a man finds happiness in collecting toy cars after a fight with cancer. Also, research showing significant disparities for black women in breast cancer detection and treatment. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Joplin Eagles still alive in the Missouri Class 5 volleyball playoffs, in action on the road facing Nixa in the sectional round of the state bracket. Joplin got to this point by claiming the Class 5 District 12 title on Monday, their first district title in 30 years. While this may be unfamiliar territory, Eagles are loose, feeling good ahead of tonight's matchup against Nixa.
We had a really good practice yesterday. The girls came in extremely focused and ready to go. It was really good to see them. Obviously, at the beginning, they were a little wound up, but we got them settled in, and they were focused, and they knew that we had to wait to kind of see who we were going to end up playing tomorrow, but they said they were ready to go. They didn't care who.
That game is in Nixa. Starts tonight at 6:30 with the winner moving on to the state quarterfinals on Saturday. Pittsburgh State's Kyle Rutledge named the MIAA Men's Cross Country Coach of the Year. Rutledge led the Gorilla men to their first ever cross-country league championship over the weekend and did so in his very first year as head coach at PSU. Pitt State had 4 top 10 finishers at the league meet, earning all MIAA honors. Next up for the Gorillas, a spot in the NCAA Division II Central region that'll take place in Joplin on November the 6th. Missouri Southern Lions have just 3 games left in the football season. 3-5 right now after a 3-point loss to Emporia State last weekend. Southern aims to bounce back because coming up is Hall of Fame weekend Saturday as they host Missouri Western.
It's been a season of close games for the Missouri Southern Lions.
I looked at it, and we've had 5 of our 8 games this year have been one-score ball games. And so, from an outsider perspective, I think the difference between 3-5 and 5-3 is this huge deal. But from inside the program, I'm telling you, there's not a huge difference.
The Lions are 3-5 heading into the weekend. They're coming off a 24-21 loss at Emporia State. In that game, the Lions finished strong, but a 10-0 first quarter deficit was too much to overcome.
I think if we had played the first quarter like we did the third and the fourth, I think we'd win that football game.
Saturday, the Lions welcome in Missouri Western, a team with a matching 3-5 record.
They have the 2-quarterback system right now where they have one quarterback who's really good at running the ball, and then they have another quarterback that can really throw the ball down the field. So it's just important this week to really work on keeping our eye on personnel at the quarterback position.
They are probably the most athletic team we faced up to point. I mean, they are on their defense. They have a very big front that runs well. They're very long in the back end, which, obviously when you're covering receivers and coverage units, they do a really nice job there.
With just 3 games to go, the Lions are aiming to finish the season strong, and despite dropping some close games, the energy and attitude is as high as ever.
We're not worried about our record. We just worry about getting better every day. So when everybody's competitive out there, everybody trying to make plays, it makes practice more fun. The energy is always great. It's always going to be high.
The guys are seeing the shift. If you flip on our film, we've improved every week. We've come to work every day, and I'm extremely proud of our guys for that. And we've gotten better. And that's the key here is to continue to get better. The best teams just continue to get better all the way throughout.
Lions game against Mo Western kicks off at 2 o'clock Saturday. Fred G. Hughes in Joplin. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, the United States continues its legal push for the extradition of Julian Assange. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. 5:17, perfect time for weather on the 7s as the rain pounds the tower cam over 7th and Range Line. Just transitioned to 5:18 as a matter of fact. Look at the heavy rain coming down in the central portion. Right east and west of the state line is where we're seeing it begin to filter into Barton and Lamar County as dominated Crawford and Cherokee County move out to the western portion of southeast Kansas. Throw a little yellow and orange in there around the Howard portion, and this is all widespread. This is going to be here all day long, and here's why. Because once this thing put the brakes on, and we knew that counterclockwise motion was coming, instead of pushing out, the up comes right back on us, filters up to the north, and then falls back down on us. So the fact of the matter is that everything up here, well, we've still got all of it to come down upon us. We look at our rain totals for this week, cruising past the 2-inch mark, and a number of places where you see the yellow, the lighter green indicating anywhere that we're approaching 2 inches. Only that one little swath right there, the Chanute, Pittsburgh, Fort Scott triangle is waiting to get to about 1 inch. We still have the flood watch in effect for the Little Osage, and on top of that, the rest of the 4 states is in a wind advisory. So it's not just the rain that we have to put up with today, as we're already seeing it blow in double digits in Chanute and Independence. And you know what, Nevada and Joplin and Grove, it may just be double digits, but it is double digits nonetheless. Current conditions over Joplin, 51 degrees is where we stand. Temperatures are really not going to go anywhere today, and neither is the rain. Take a look at what Future Track has in store, as it will just continually come down in a circle. That's the best way to describe it. As it rolls through, finally clearing off here by the time we get into Friday morning. That's when it's going to let up a little bit, and so please know that it's not only umbrellas, but low-lying areas are going to be prone to flooding throughout the course of our day. With more than 6,000 model cars, some are something to talk about this morning, an Alaskan man says his collection is finally complete. Tiny torque cars, but they're more than just a collector's item. He says they saved his life, helped him through his battle with cancer. Here's his story.
I hope you're ready to see this because it's something else. Are you ready? Come on in.
John Hotchkiss started collecting tiny model cars in 2005 after cancer left him unable to work.
Well, I blame this whole collection on my wife. She won't admit that, but she bought me my first one, and I said, wow, look at these are detailed. They're just unbelievable because they're so small. And the next time, I don't know, it was a couple days, we went to Fred Meyer, and I walked in there and I went right to the Hot Wheel display and saw my favorite car, which is a Plymouth Superbird, and I picked it up and looked at it and ended up with 50 cars that day.
Waiting for the latest Matchbox or model car to come in the mail gave Hotchkiss a reason to get up every day.
I was ordering them on eBay and Amazon both, and I just couldn't wait to get them. So every other day I was getting 3 or 4 new cars and learning more about the different kind of cars and different years.
Then last year his health took a turn for the worst, and once again his model cars helped pull him through.
Last summer when I got really sick, I didn't have anything. I just didn't think I was going to make it. And I'd come out here and sit in my chair and listen to my music and stare at these cars, and slowly came out of it because I couldn't even walk hardly from here to the door.
Hotchkiss says he completed his collection in 2019, but will still buy them for $1 or $2 when he sees them out and about.
They've actually helped me they've saved my life.
Reporting from North Pole, I'm Sarah Hollister.
Yes, there actually is a North Pole, Alaska. Our question for you is, if you do collect anything, what may it be? We've got a number of options on KOMNewsNow.com/vote for you. We'll be back with Healthwatch next. Topping Healthwatch this morning, what happens when people feel invincible to COVID-19 and a new use for an old drug? Naomi Rockham has a look at some of today's top health stories.
An inexpensive drug often prescribed to treat mental health conditions can also be used to help COVID-19 patients. New research at McMaster University in Canada found the drug fluvoxamine cut hospital admissions for COVID up to 30%. Doctors say this finding can be especially significant in areas where vaccination rates are low. A new study shows the death rate from Parkinson's disease has risen more than 60% over the last 2 decades in the U.S., with mortality twice as high among men. Researchers believe women fare better because higher levels of estrogen offer protection from developing Parkinson's. And a large study in 51 countries found people who feel invincible to COVID-19 are less likely to get vaccinated. Researchers in Nevada say the feelings of invincibility are more common in nations where there's a greater emphasis on individual freedom, like the U.S., UK, and Canada. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Naomi Rockham, CBS News, New York.
With October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, there are disparities in treatment and survival when it comes to breast cancer among Black women. Reporter Michael George has more on what could help bridge that gap.
Darlene Bassett Waters gets annual mammograms, and the 53-year-old has a message for other women after having 2 breast cancers identified early.
Don't put it off. If I would have put it off, where would I be?
Research shows significant disparities for Black women in breast cancer detection and treatment. While Black and white women get breast cancer at about the same rates, Black women are 40% more likely to die from the disease and are also more likely to be diagnosed before age 40, when annual screenings typically start.
So we're dealing with the fact that Black women are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer that would not have been caught early by screening mammography. It's more likely to have been caught after they develop a symptom or a mass, which means it's typically later stage.
Dr. Lola Fayanju is a breast surgeon at Penn Medicine. She says with the risks for Black women, especially younger Black women, she encourages them to have a breast cancer risk assessment with their doctor at age 30 and also do self-breast exams.
So those are the real messages I want to convey to my fellow Black women, is that know your body, know your family history, take ownership of your health, and really definitely begin screening at 40, if not sooner, if you're found to have a family history that makes you at risk for a higher risk for breast cancer.
It's something Darlene wants her daughters to know.
My story to them was, this is the reason why we need to take care of our bodies.
Because she knows firsthand the importance of early detection and treatment. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Black women are also more likely to develop a specific type of aggressive breast cancer called triple-negative breast cancer. It has a very poor prognosis because there's a lack of effective treatments for that disease. That is a look at some of today's top health stories as you're watching the KOAM Morning News. And when you do leave today, do not go anywhere without an umbrella, as the rain is going to continue to come down all the way through tonight into Friday morning. Coming up, a fatal crash on I-44 claims the life of 2 people after an elderly man drives the wrong way. A Humansville man loses control of not only his car, but his life as well. And new details on the legal battle between Newton County and Neosho over unpaid TIF funds.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Michael Hayslip. We'll get to those stories and a whole lot more in just a little bit. But first and foremost on our minds this morning is the amount of rain that we've already picked up as the raindrops fall in the tower cam at 7th and Range Line, and how much we still have to go. Let's focus here, right here in the middle of our screen. That's where we've got the heaviest rain coming down. Most of it staying on the west side of the Kansas-Missouri state line, and everything actually falling from north to south. So Columbus and Joplin, that'd be what's headed towards you. Do not have any lightning in that one. Then we've got another, after a little break, not of dry break, but of lighter rain. Got another one there for northern Barton County that stretches into Vernon, out in southeast Kansas. One rolling through Montgomery County, just about to make its way into Wilson County as well. So that's where we stand with rain totals easily eclipsing the 1.5 inch mark for the majority of the 4 states if we go back to when the rain started. Only one flood watch so far. I want to reiterate that, so far. That's for the Little Osage, that one that was put up yesterday. But on top of that, we now have wind advisories. That's what's in the tan right there. So not only is it a cold rain, but it's a blustery rain. Coming in at 24, 25 miles per hour out there in Independence, 16 at Chanute. It's going to be hard to escape, number one. You can't escape the rain. It's going to be hard to escape some high winds as well. And that is what really cools us off, too. It's one of those days where the temperature's not going to budge. We're not going to see a massive cold front roll through by any means, but low 50s, about as good as we can expect. Whole bunch of activity down on the Gulf Coast. That's where most of the tornadic activity with this system has stayed. And so our greatest threat is still flood and, now we know, high winds. Weather trend for today, you'll notice the rain does not want to stop. Here we go in that circular counterclockwise motion, flipping over on itself until Thursday night all the way into Friday morning. As a matter of fact, early Friday morning, still going to have some rain sticking around till we clear completely off for the afternoon hours. Looking at a nice weekend though, 62 on Saturday and 62 for Halloween Sunday. 2 people are dead after an elderly man drove the wrong way on I-44 in Jasper County. The Missouri Highway Patrol says Andrew Wilson, a 91-year-old from Neosho, was driving east in the westbound lanes of the interstate. This is about 3 miles east of Fidelity and happened Tuesday night. Highway Patrol says Wilson hit a car driven by 58-year-old Janet Edwards of Sarcoxie head-on. Both drivers died at the scene. A single-car crash near Lockwood, Missouri claims the life of a 45-year-old man. The crash happened on County Road 32, 7 miles west of Lockwood. Missouri Highway Patrol says Glenn Briggs lost control on a gravel road, hit a fence, and flipped his SUV. Briggs died at the scene. Starting Monday, all public safety communications in Ottawa County, Oklahoma will run through a single dispatch center. Miami PD says if you dial 911 for an emergency anywhere in Ottawa County, Miami PD will dispatch officers for your jurisdiction. Police Department says the change provides faster response and better service to county residents. We're learning more about a lawsuit filed by the city of Neosho against Newton County regarding unpaid TIF money. That TIF stands for Tax Incremental Financing. Our own Chris Warner with that story.
We first brought you the story of the suit last week, detailing what the city was looking for. Neosho established a TIF in 1999 to help the city fund improvement projects within the district. Documents received by KOAM show the last payment the city received was in September of 2015 for just over $24,000. Then the payments stopped, and on October 6th of this year, the city filed a suit.
The county has an obligation under state law to collect, allocate, and pay that money, and it just hasn't done it. And so now the city hopes to recover that money, along with the interest that might be due from non-payment of that money over that period of time.
David Struble has been hired by the city to represent it in the suit. Struble says the county hasn't provided a clear reason as to why they stopped paying, but have referenced needing an invoice.
An invoice is not a prerequisite under state law for them to, as I said, collect and allocate and pay that money. For a period of time, for reasons that really aren't clear, I think the city may have sent the county an invoice as a courtesy, but the county gets those sales tax records from the state, and the county knows the amount of money it should be paying.
We spoke with Newton County Presiding Commissioner Bill Reibel following a commissioners' meeting Wednesday morning. While he declined to do an on-camera interview, he did answer some of our questions. Commissioner Reibel explained to us that the county is going to start making the payments next month, and then in January, the county will pay the entire amount. Reibel told us, quote, "Under state statute, anything we budget, we can pay. This was not on our budget, so we can't pay until January."
The city just wants the money that it's due under state law. And so the city wasn't anxious to go to court about this. And I think that the city would love to resolve this with the county.
In Neosho, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Newton County has until November 29th to respond to the suit. The Jasper County Health Department reporting 4 more COVID-19 deaths. Patients were 2 men in their 50s and 60s and 2 women, both in their 80s. The latest deaths bring the county's total to 235. Freeman Health System held its COVID media briefing discussing the neurological side of COVID-19. The National Institutes of Health created a database to track neurological symptoms associated with COVID-19, and some of those symptoms include headache, loss of smell, or rarer problems such as stroke or brain disease, sometimes even brain damage. However, some area medical professionals are noticing another trend. Some people who were initially asymptomatic had COVID without knowing it and are now showing long hauler symptoms.
Sometimes the long COVID or the long haulers, it has nothing to do with the severity of COVID-19 acute symptoms they had. So our patients, if you check their antibodies later, they have antibodies, if they were not vaccinated, and then you realize that they did had an infection at some time, and they still have symptoms of chronic fatigue, headaches, mental fog, and they were not sick with COVID.
Dr. Opal says don't sit on the sidelines and try to navigate it yourself. He says you need to seek medical attention if you experience any of the neurological symptoms associated with COVID-19. Pittsburgh Community Theater sinking its teeth into a new production last night. A little sneak preview as the theater's performing Bram Stoker's Dracula. We got a chance to check it out before its official debut. A perfect date night opportunity. Probably don't bring the kids though. That's on the recommendation of the theater because they're getting ready for a whole lot of frights.
It was a surprise, and I wasn't expecting to be like the bad guy, but it feels kind of good. I get to be angry, I get to yell, I get to run around. I like putting lots of energy into my roles, and Dracula definitely gets to bring the heat.
Here are our show times. Friday night at 7, and then on Saturday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. And the grand finale, we're going to roll that at 2 o'clock Halloween afternoon. As a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Nicolas Maduro calls Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro an idiot. Well, we're going to find out if there's truly a good reason why. And the Nightmare on Elm Street house is now on the market. The price can be a little scary though. We'll find out exactly what it is. Roll up to 537 with that heavy rain still sitting very, very close to Missouri-Kansas state line. Got that line from Columbus to Pittsburgh, Just on the other side of Girard, runs through Frontenac and Arma. Now everything's moving from north to south. That's our heaviest rain. Left-hand side of your screen, tell you're getting a fair amount out by Independence in Montgomery County as well. Temperature's going to be stuck in the 50s for really the entire day, maybe even a little drop down into the high 40s. Rain persisting all the way through tonight into early Friday morning. Those low-lying areas, if they're not already underwater, remember, it's very dangerous to try to navigate those pre-sunrise as well. Take the safest route that you know about and also get ready for about 30-mile-an-hour winds. We'll be back with World Watch right after this. Topping World Watch, the U.S. continues to try to extradite WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Assange supporters gathered outside a London courthouse Wednesday where U.S. lawyers are making their case. They're arguing concerns around Assange's mental health and say that should not prevent him from facing justice. The 50-year-old Australian is accused of espionage and computer misuse. U.S. prosecutors lost an appeal in January to extradite Assange to face espionage charges. Assange remains in London's high-security Belmarsh prison, where he's been held since April of 2019. In her first international TV interview in close to 2 years, Taiwan's president Tsai Ing-wen says rising tensions between Beijing and Taipei bring, quote, the most challenging time for the people of Taiwan. When asked if Taiwan was safe since she took office, her response was that China was an increasing threat, and that threat was increasing every day. Twitter data revealing a coordinated hate campaign against Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. In a report released Tuesday, Twitter analytics provider Sentinel said it identified 83 accounts that it alleges were involved in the hate campaign. The report said the accounts had more than 187,000 combined followers, with the potential to reach 17 million more on Twitter. Sentinel said some of the 114,000 tweets it analyzed used coded racist language. Embattled Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro calls Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro an idiot, and did so in a televised speech on Tuesday. Maduro's comments came after Bolsonaro made baseless claims suggesting COVID-19 vaccines could increase the risk of AIDS. Facebook deleted a video from Bolsonaro's weekly live transmission in which he said COVID-19 could increase the risk of HIV infection, a Facebook spokesperson in Brazil telling this to CNN. So much for being adults, everybody. Let's look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world now for our something to talk about. This morning, it's about collecting things. This man right here, John Hotchkiss in Alaska. We started collecting tiny model cars in 2005 after cancer left him unable to work. Apparently, well, the little things in life really do matter the most because he was hooked after the first one, and now he's got more than 6,000 of them. And if you're curious, yes, he says that even though his collection is complete and is doing great coming back from his cancer, that he will still, every now and then, you guys got to wait for me to pop that up. Calm, man. We had this doing seamlessly. He will still, every now and then, grab one when he's at the store. So our question for you is, what do you collect? And we gave you 4 different options: baseball cards, figurines, stamps, and right now other is at 67% of the vote. Thanks to our own Will York, the KOAM weather department has actually, we double dip. We not only have figurines, but it has a baseball card in the figurines. We actually keep a nice collection over here on the side. This, folks, is Chris Sabo, former Rookie of the Year for the Cincinnati Reds. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 2 people are dead after an elderly man drives the wrong way on I-44 in Jasper County, Missouri. Highway Patrol says Andrew Wilson, a 91-year-old from Neosho, was driving east in the westbound lanes of I-44 3 miles east of Fidelity Tuesday night. Patrol says he then hit a car driven by 58-year-old Janet Edwards of Sarcoxy. Both drivers died at the scene. A single car crash near Lockwood, Missouri claims the life of a 45-year-old Missouri man. The crash happening on County Road 32, 7 miles west of Lockwood. Missouri Highway Patrol says Glenn Briggs lost control on a gravel road, hit a fence, and flipped his SUV. Briggs died at the scene. City of Joplin's experiencing an increased number of suspected arsons. All are either considered arson in the first or second degree, and according to the Joplin Police Department, a man by the name of Christopher L. Smith of Joplin has been charged with arson in the first degree, as well as 6 counts of child endangerment. His charges come after police say he used a butane lighter to set a window frame of a residence on fire. Police say Smith was suicidal, and officers responded to that call a day before his arrest. Police say Smith got into an argument with his girlfriend, then tried to self-harm, left the residence, but then came back early in the morning and tried to get in before setting a fire. For more information on the full arson investigation, you can find the link on our website, koamnewsnow.com. Pittsburgh Community Theater sinking its teeth into a new production as we get ready for Halloween. The theater putting on Bram Stoker's Dracula. And this is video from last night's production before its official debut. Shows a great date night opportunity, but the theater also telling us probably don't bring the kids. It's going to have lots of frights and scares involved. We'll have a show. We'll put showtimes up on koamnewsnow.com. You know what? I can do showtimes off the top of my head. Friday night, 7 o'clock. Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Sunday, Halloween, 2 p.m. KOMnewsnow.com. I'll just read it to you. That's a check of today's top headlines. News you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a Skywatch storm tracker. Still heavy rain coming down right in the central portion of the 4 states. This is what happens when it stalls out and then turns back over on us. So everything up to the north is actually falling back down to the south. We're even picking up, look at that, right in between Pittsburgh and Girard. That is going to be right there about on, what, that's 126, in between 126 and 160. That's going to be where it comes down about sideways on you. It's hard to see where you're going. That entire line of orange is not kidding around as well, as it stays just on the west side of 69, but it'll eventually progress towards 69. And then on 43 up here in Barton County, we've got extreme heavy rain. Transition out to Montgomery County, where this one's dropping down just about to cross the line into Newata County in northeast Oklahoma. And remember, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. High wind advisory, gusting 40 miles per hour today. So yeah, it's going to be windy, it's a cold rain, and it's not going anywhere. I'll find our light at the end of the tunnel here. Just wait until the weekend, because when it finally begins to taper off Friday morning, then we can look forward to sunshine and 60s on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. There we are with the Skywatch Storm Tracker. It was a dramatic intro. I was going to fade from black, take full. Skywatch Storm Tracker with heavy rain coming down central portion of the 4 states. We have not picked up any lightning. I thought out of the corner of my eye I saw a lightning strike, but I think that eyes deceived me because I haven't seen any additional and haven't picked any up on the lightning tracker. Here's the amount of rain that we've absorbed since this whole thing started. So in certain places where you see the yellow right there, we're pushing up to 3 inches already, and we've still got a long way to go. Flood watch in effect for Little Osage River in Vernon County. The rest of the 4 states in tan, that is a wind advisory. We're going to be blowing about 40 miles per hour, and we've already started to pick up out in portions of Independence and Chinook, 25 miles per hour. That is not a wind gust. That is sustained as far as what we're seeing in Chinook right now. Future track is, we got the counterclockwise motion. Keeps on dropping down on us before it finally begins to lighten up, but that's really not going to happen until Friday morning. So if we're sitting at, if places are 3 inches right now, we're going to be talking about anywhere from 4.5. Still looking at a great weekend though. Sunny skies on Saturday and Sunday, so Halloween doesn't hold any worries for the kids. Then next week, we're going to be talking about our first little frost and freeze of fall perhaps. We'll be back right after this. A house of horrors from the big screen. becoming a hot property and hitting the market just in time for Halloween. Jeremy Roth with the story.
Navigating the real estate market can be a real nightmare. But horror movie fans could be looking at the house of their dreams because the home made famous by the Nightmare on Elm Street movie series is now up for sale in a Los Angeles neighborhood. A listing for the home, which isn't actually on Elm Street, features photos of a certain scary someone enjoying the Dutch colonial-style digs and all its features. And while the home itself is lovely, the price tag may scare you. It's listed for $3.25 million. And just to stay on spooky brand, the LA Times reports offers for the property are due by midnight on Halloween. Here's some scary spending news that may shock you. Americans are expected to spend a record $10 billion on Halloween this year. That's according to new stats from the National Retail Federation that predicts folks on average will spend $102 on Halloween-related goods like candy, pumpkins, and decorations. But most of it will be spent on, you guessed it, crazy and creepy costumes for adults, kids, and even pets. And really, can you ever have too much of animals in costumes? I say, nay. Just check out these South Dakota horses that halted the dressage to dress up for the Halloween season. The Suncatcher Therapeutic Riding Academy hosted a friendly competition where visitors could vote for their favorite festive filly or spooky stallion. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
$10.2 million. That's a little pandemic spending right there. That number is a whole lot higher than what I thought it would be. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News right after this. Coming up, a fatal crash on I-44 claims the life of 2 people after an elderly man drives the wrong way. And a Humansville man loses control of not only his car, but his life as well. And new details in the legal battle between Newton County and Neosho over unpaid TIF funds.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good Thursday morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. Find ourselves at 6 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. We got a mess on our hands outside and it's going to be this way all day long. Live look from 7th and Range Line where the rain just keeps on coming down. Check out this band right through the middle. And a lot of that we're seeing right there from 7th and Range Line is going to be attached to this that is now stretching almost to Miami. It's working its way south toward Miami, up through Cherokee and Crawford counties. Extreme hard rain. In between Highway 7 and Highway 69 on the south edge of Pittsburgh. Transition into Barton County. We've got another one hanging squarely over Highway 43 to the west of Lamar. And then as we go into southeast Kansas, out here by the 75 interchange running from Montgomery County down into Nevada County into northeast Oklahoma. And here's the thing, everything up to the north, well, it's still going to make its way toward us. And so it's no surprise that the flood watch for the Little Osage remains. It is kind of surprising that we haven't seen more flood watches pop up because we've already got reports of in excess of 3 inches since this system started a day and a half ago. The TAN indicates wind advisories already blowing 25 miles per hour out in Independence, and all of our other readings easily double digits. Chanute now approaching the 20 mile per hour mark, and it's also cold. So windy, rainy, cool. 51 degrees is where we stand over Joplin. And we're not going to see our temperatures hardly move at all today. They're going to be very, very stagnant, kind of like what it was yesterday. Well, we've seen the rain recede from the south where it was down to the Gulf earlier. The problem is it's actually working its way in from the north. It's taken that counterclockwise motion ever since it threw on the brakes. And so there it does, just spins over us. You get out to Wichita, they're going to be dry today. And we're just kind of on that little dividing line of where the rain's going to stick around until Friday morning. Future track will show us that after we get done with that, we actually do have a nice Halloween weekend. Low 60s, sunny skies. And then just a little look ahead. Monday into Tuesday and then Tuesday into Wednesday, those overnight lows dropping into the 30s. Could be talking about our first patchy frost of the fall season. 2 people are dead after an elderly man drives the wrong way on I-44 in Jasper County, Missouri. Highway Patrol says Andrew Wilson, a 91-year-old from Neosho, was driving east in the westbound lanes of the interstate. This happening 3 miles east of Fidelity, Missouri, Tuesday night. The patrol says he hit a car driven by 58-year-old Janet Edwards of Sarcoxy. Both drivers died at the scene. A single-car crash near Lockwood, Missouri, claimed the life of a 45-year-old man. The crash happening on County Road 32, 7 miles west of Lockwood. Missouri Highway Patrol says Glenn Briggs lost control on a gravel road, hit a fence, and flipped his SUV. Briggs died at the scene. The Jasper County Health Department reports 4 more COVID-19 related deaths. The patients were 2 men in their 50s and 60s, 2 women, both in their 80s. The latest deaths bring the county's total to 235. City of Joplin is experiencing an increased number of suspected arsons. All are either arson in the first or second degree, and according to JPD, Christopher L. Smith of Joplin has been charged with arson in the first degree, as well as 6 counts of child endangerment. Police say he tried to use a butane lighter to set the window frame of a residence on fire. JPD says Smith was suicidal, and police responded to that call a day before his arrest. They tell us that he got into an argument with his girlfriend, tried to self-harm, and then left the residence, but came back early in the morning, tried to get in, and then set the fire. For more information, you can find the full story on our website, koamnewsnow.com. Starting Monday, all public safety communications in Ottawa County, Oklahoma, will run through a single dispatch center. Miami Police Department says if you dial 911 for an emergency anywhere in Ottawa County, Miami PD will dispatch officers for your jurisdiction. Police Department says the change provides a faster response and also a better service to county residents. We're learning more about a lawsuit filed by the city of Neosho against Newton County. The city filed the suit earlier this month to recover TIF money that it says Newton County has not paid. The TIF was established back in 1999, TIF short for tax incremental financing, and it helped fund improvements within the city. The county made payments to the city until September of 2015. Now, according to documents received by KOAM, last payment the city received was for just more than $24,000.
The county has an obligation under state law to collect, allocate, and pay that money, and it just hasn't done it. And so now the city hopes to recover that money, along with the interest that might be due from non-payment of that money over that period of time.
Later in the show, we'll hear more from the attorney representing the city, as well as what Newton County's presiding commissioner has to say about this lawsuit. Yesterday, Freeman Health System held its COVID media briefing discussing the neurological side effects of COVID-19. The National Institutes of Health created a database tracking neurological symptoms associated with the pandemic, and some of those include headache, loss of smell, or rarer problems such as stroke or brain disease, sometimes even brain damage. However, some area medical professionals are noticing another trend. People who were initially asymptomatic, had COVID without knowing it, and are now showing long hauler symptoms.
Sometimes the long COVID or the long haulers, it has nothing to do with the severity of COVID-19 acute symptoms they had. So our patients, if you check their antibodies later, they have antibodies, if they were not vaccinated, and then you realize that they did had an infection at some time, and they still have symptoms of chronic fatigue, headaches, mental fog, and they were not sick with COVID.
Dr. Opal says it's important to seek medical attention if you experience any of the neurological symptoms associated with COVID-19. Pittsburgh Community Theater sinking its teeth into a new production, and last night, here's a little bit of a sneak peek. Theater performing Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is the final rehearsal before the official debut. The show called a perfect date night, but the theater also saying, yeah, probably don't bring the kids. Community Theater saying it's going to have lots of frights.
It was a surprise, and I wasn't expecting to be like the bad guy, but it feels kind of good. I get to be angry, I get to yell, I get to run around. I like putting lots of energy into my roles, and Dracula definitely gets to bring the heat.
So it all begins on Friday at 7 o'clock is when the curtain opens on the first show. Saturday, showtimes include 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. and the grand finale, Halloween Sunday at 2 p.m. Transition over to the Skywatch Storm Track. I'll tell you what, these 2 bands that we've been paying attention to, now we got a third one popping up there in Labette County, trying to make its way into Nowata County as well. So that's our heavy rain. The extreme band runs right now from Ottawa County up through Cherokee, Crawford, all the way really into Bourbon County, the heaviest rain indicated by the orange and the red. And the one in Barton County, in between Liberal and Lamar, hanging over 43 and 160, that intersection, it has not slowed down one bit at all either. Temperatures low 50s for the most part. We got a couple high 40s out there. Temperatures aren't going to go anywhere today, and neither is the rain. Rain sticks around all the way into, say early Friday morning before we finally begin to get a little bit of a break. That is a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOM Morning News, a game show contestant does not hit a homer when he thinks an animation icon wrote epic Greek poetry. An inexpensive drug used to treat mental health conditions sees double duty in the fight against COVID-19. And automakers find plenty of room for safety improvements with a new side crash test. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Watch this morning. Stocks came in lower on Wednesday. Ford races past quarterly expectations. The Commerce Department releases its quarterly report, and Starbucks employees can sit back and enjoy a raise. Dan at King Hall with some of today's top consumer stories.
Stocks were mostly lower on Wednesday. The Dow slumped 266 points. The Nasdaq gained a fraction of a point, while the S&P 500 lost 23. New takes on old cars helped Ford crush Wall Street expectations in its quarterly earnings report. The automaker posted a profit of $1.8 billion on $33 billion in revenue. Shares shot up nearly 9% after hours. Ford said there is strong demand for the new Bronco and Mustang Mach-E. The state of the U.S. economy will be in focus today, with the Commerce Department set to release its estimate of third quarter growth. Economists predict GDP will be just under 3%, a steep drop-off from the 6.7% growth in the second quarter. The blame is likely to fall on the supply chain issues and a shortage of workers. And Starbucks employees are getting a raise. Starting in January, employees with at least 2 years of service may receive up to a 5% bump in pay. Those with at least 5 years could get up to 10%. By next summer, the Seattle-based coffee chain will pay all of its hourly workers at least $15 an hour.
Fees are safe.
When the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety rolled out this side crash test in 2003, only about 1 in 5 models earned a good rating. Over the years, the auto industry made changes, and now almost all of today's vehicles get high marks. But as larger trucks and SUVs have become increasingly popular, experts say accidents are more powerful.
When we look at passenger vehicle deaths in the United States, about 23% of those are in side impact collisions.
IIHS President David Harkey says that's why his group implemented a tougher side test. The new larger barrier moves faster and creates 82% more energy. Researchers put 20 small SUVs through the test, and only one, the 2021 Mazda CX-5, received a good rating.
It did a really good job at preventing injuries.
17 other small SUVs earned an acceptable or marginal rating.
2 of those vehicles did receive a poor rating.
For years, you set a standard for side crash tests, and automakers made upgrades to reach them. Is it fair to ask car companies to redesign future cars to meet a new standard?
We think it's very fair, and we have no doubt that the automakers will meet this challenge. They have done so every time we have rolled out a new test.
The IIHS stresses that most of today's new vehicles are very safe, but the organization is now pushing auto companies to make them even safer. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The IIHS eventually testing all new cars and trucks with the new side impact standard. That is it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back after this. A game show contestant's Homer Simpson fail goes viral. Jeannie Moose with the tale of the 2 homers.
They're two guys who share a name, but not much else. This is the odyssey of a game show blooper.
In his epic poems, Homer often refers to nectar as the drink of the gods and which other substance as their food.
I know he likes donuts.
The host of the British game show, Tipping Point, barely managed to keep a straight face. True, Homer Simpson is a glutton for donuts. But Homer the poet, not so much. Only when the host reread the question did this school teacher realize he blew it.
In his epic poems, Homer often refers to nectar as the drink of the gods and which other substance is their food.
We put the wrong Homer.
We all make mistakes. Not one to judge. Besides, Simpsons on sister station, Fox 14. It's good PR, right? Live look outside of 7th and Rangeline. Rain is battering the tower camera because it's been a heavy, heavy band that has been just east of that location, or just west of that location, excuse me. Now tracking from Ottawa County down by Miami, makes it across into Cherokee and then Crawford County all the way up to Bourbon County. No lightning, but just torrential rain. And then we've got more in Barton County for southwest Missouri. Transition out here, we've got two swaths. One pushing from Montgomery into Nowata, the other one from Labette into, looks like, just about making it short of Veneta. So that's an idea about what we've got going on right now. And remember, we've got a long way to go. It's going to rain for pretty much the rest of the morning, afternoon, evening, and nighttime. Flood watch for the Little Osage, and now we've got high wind advisories indicated in the tan. We've had as much as 25 miles per hour out in Independence and at 18 there in Chanute. Now our gust numbers, that's what we're going to be concerned about because those are going to approach about 40 miles per hour this afternoon. Currently, as we sit over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin with the winds coming in at 15 miles per hour, it's a cool 51, so it's not only fighting the rain and the wind, it's also a cold rain once it hits you right there. And temperature's really not going to move today. We're just kind of stuck where we are. Instead of everything moving out to the east or moving out to the north, we're in the middle of that counterclockwise motion, spinning over on us, rain hanging around all day long. Here's exactly what we've got. And you notice, even if you can get on the far western edge of our counties, you got a chance to have some dry weather today. You get to Wichita, they're not even going to have hardly any cloud cover. But not going to be the case for us. It is going to be a wet one with the severe thunderstorm risk map at least backing off and even taking the low category out of the Gulf Coast. So that is some wonderful news right there. 7-day forecast. We're not going to finish this off till Friday late morning. And then we can finally relax and head toward a weekend with sunny skies and temps in the 60s. We'll be back with Healthwatch right after this. Topping Healthwatch this morning, what happens when people feel invincible to COVID-19 and a new use for an old drug. Naomi Rockham has a look at some of today's top health stories.
An inexpensive drug often prescribed to treat mental health conditions can also be used to help COVID-19 patients. New research at McMaster University in Canada found the drug fluvoxamine cut hospital admissions for COVID up to 30%. Doctors say this finding can be especially significant in areas where vaccination rates are low. A new study shows the death rate from Parkinson's disease has risen more than 60% over the last 2 decades in the U.S., with mortality twice as high among men. Researchers believe women fare better because higher levels of estrogen offer protection from developing Parkinson's. And a large study in 51 countries found people who feel invincible to COVID-19 are less likely to get vaccinated. Researchers in Nevada say the feelings of invincibility are more common in nations where there's a greater emphasis on individual freedom, like the U.S., UK, and Canada. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Naomi Rockham, CBS News, New York.
As a look at some of today's top health stories, now let's concentrate on our travel concerns. I want to point out some individual roads, interstates, highways here. I-44 down by Miami, Highway 69 lasting from Baxter all the way up to Fort Scott. I-49, especially in Barton County around Lamar, And then Highway 43 in between Lamar and Liberal. That's where we're seeing the hardest rain right now. We'll be back right after this. Coming up, a fatal crash on I-44 claims the life of 2 people after an elderly man drives the wrong way. And a Humansville man loses control of not only his car, but his life as well. And new details in the legal battle between Newton County and Neosho over unpaid tax funds.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good Thursday morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. We find ourselves at 6:30. I'm Michael Hayslip. We're going to get to those stories, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries coming up here in just a little bit. But first, let's start with what is going to be a dreary, cool, and windy day. And the rain not going anywhere. We're going to concentrate on what's right in the middle of the screen right there, as we've got the extreme hard rain coming down just in the Pittsburgh area alone, anywhere from that's more than an inch and a half an hour right there. That's some impressive numbers. And then you see that orange, which is still very heavy rain as well. It runs all the way down almost to Baxter Springs. Another one that's just about connected to our previous one then begins to track up through Barton County, and it hasn't got to I-49 as of yet, but it is getting very, very close. And it's going to be hanging over 43 there in multiple areas and going to work down to about Highway 126 as well. Transition out here to southeast Kansas because we've got some new ones popping up right here. This one coming out of Montgomery County in between Caney and say Koam. That one's been there for a little bit, and then the one over Edna is moving to the south as well. This is kind of our new one that we've got in between Neodesha and Cherryvale. I have not picked up any lightning with any of these. It's just the rain, because everything up to the north still has to come down on us. And that's why flooding is going to ultimately be a concern. Right now, we only have one flood watch in effect, and that's for the Little Osage. So we've got the rain, we've got the possibility of flooding, and now we've got the wind. Wind advisory indicated in tan, already blowing about 25 miles per hour out in Independence, about 20 in Chanute. So that makes it for a cold rain if you got to be outside today too. 51 degrees is where we stand. Temperature's really not going to go anywhere. Kind of like yesterday, it's kind of stuck. As far as what we're seeing down by the Gulf Coast, that's where all those tornadoes were spawned by the same system that was connected to us. They get a little bit of a reprieve. We do not, because you'll see the top of the panels on the weather trend do not stop. Turns over on itself all throughout Thursday afternoon, evening, and even the nighttime hours. Carries us into Friday, so we're looking at an additional 1.5 to 2 inches by the time it's said and done. Luckily, it'll be a thing of the past by the time we get to the weekend. We'll be able to enjoy sunny skies, temps in the low to mid 60s, and a great looking Halloween for the kids. 2 people are dead after an elderly man drove the wrong way on I-44 in Jasper County, Missouri. Missouri Highway Patrol says Andrew Wilson, a 91-year-old from Neosho, was driving east in the westbound lanes. This happened 3 miles east of Fidelity Tuesday night. Patrol says he hit a car driven by 58-year-old Janet Edwards of Sarcoxy. Both drivers died at the scene. A single car crash near Lockwood claims the life of a 45-year-old Missouri man. The crash on County Road 32 happening 7 miles west of Lockwood. Missouri Highway Patrol says Glenn Briggs lost control on a gravel road, hit a fence, and flipped his SUV. Briggs died at the scene. The Jasper County Health Department reporting 4 more COVID-19 deaths. The patients, 2 men in their 50s and 60s, 2 women who were both in their 80s. The latest deaths bring the county's total to 235. Starting Monday, all public safety communications in Ottawa County, Oklahoma will run through a single dispatch center. Miami PD says if you dial 911 for an emergency anywhere in Ottawa County, Miami PD will then dispatch officers for your jurisdiction. Police Department says the change provides a faster response and better service to county residents. We're learning more about a lawsuit filed by the city of Neosho against Newton County regarding unpaid TIF money. Our own Chris Warner with the story.
We first brought you the story of the suit last week detailing what the city was looking for. Neosho established a TIF in 1999 to help the city fund improvement projects within the district. Documents received by KOAM show the last payment the city received was in September of 2015 for just over $24,000. Then the payments stopped, and on October 6th of this year, the city filed a suit.
The county has an obligation under state law to collect, allocate, and pay that money, and it just hasn't done it. And so now the city hopes to recover that money along with the interest that might be due from non-payment of that money over that period of time.
David Struble has been hired by the city to represent it in the suit. Struble says the county hasn't provided a clear reason as to why they stopped paying, but have referenced needing an invoice.
An invoice is not a prerequisite under state law for them to, as I said, collect and allocate and pay that money. For a period of time, for reasons that really aren't clear, I think the city may have sent the county an invoice as a courtesy, but the county gets those sales tax records from the state, and the county knows the amount of money it should be paying.
We spoke with Newton County Presiding Commissioner Bill Ribel following a commissioners' meeting Wednesday morning. While he declined to do an on-camera interview, he did answer some of our questions. Commissioner Ribel explained to us that the county is going to start making the payments next month, and then in January, the county will pay the entire amount. Ribel told us, quote, "Under state statute, anything we budget, we can pay. This was not on our budget, so we can't pay until January."
The city just wants the money that it's due under state law. And so the city wasn't anxious to go to court about this. And I think that the city would love to resolve this with the county.
In Neosho, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
County has until November 29th to respond to the lawsuit. Yesterday, Freeman Health System held its COVID media briefing discussing the neurological side of COVID-19. National Institutes of Health created a database to track neurological symptoms associated with the disease. Some of those symptoms include headache, loss of smell, or rarer problems such as stroke or brain disease, even brain damage. However, some area medical professionals are noticing yet another trend. Some people who were initially asymptomatic, had COVID without knowing it, are showing long hauler symptoms.
Sometimes the long COVID or the long haulers, it has nothing to do with the severity of COVID-19 acute symptoms they had. So our patients, if you check their antibodies later, they have antibodies, if they were not vaccinated, and then you realize that they did had an infection at some time, and they still have symptoms of chronic fatigue, headaches, mental fog, and they were not sick with COVID.
Dr. Opal says it's important to seek medical attention if you experience any of the neurological symptoms that could be associated with COVID-19. Pittsburgh Community Theater sinking its teeth into a new production. Here's a little taste from last night as the theater's performing Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is the final rehearsal before the production begins its official debut. Well, while it's being called a perfect date night opportunity, theater says, nah, probably don't bring the kids. Community Theater saying it's going to have lots of frights.
It was a surprise, and I wasn't expecting to be like the bad guy, but it feels kind of good. I get to be angry, I get to yell, I get to run around. I like putting lots of energy into my roles, and Dracula definitely gets to bring the heat.
Curtain opens for real Friday night at 7. Got 2 shows on Saturday. Those will be at 2 in the afternoon, 7 in the evening. And then on Halloween, the grand finale at 2 in the afternoon. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News.
President Biden is meeting with Democrats today to try to push through that big social and environmental spending bill we've been talking about for weeks. I'm Laura Podesta with why we could know by midday whether it's a deal or no deal.
Got worried about LP. Thought she was going to hang me out to dry there. Am I calling now, Lauren? Plus, when it comes to collecting, what do you collect? We're going to let you weigh in on the KOAM News Now Instapoll. But first, now that it's 6:37, that's what we're looking at, and that's what we're going to be looking at all day long. Now, of concern right now, the very heavy rain showing up in the yellow, orange, and the red. You live in those areas, or you know you've got to make a trip to those areas for your morning commute. Need you to be very, very wary of flooding. We've still got an hour before sunrise. We'll be back with Nation Watch next. Topping Nation Watch this morning, President Biden going to speak from the White House before heading off to Europe for a meeting with the Pope and a key global climate summit. He's hoping to show the world that the United States is taking climate change seriously, but gridlock in Congress is not helping. Laura Podesta with the details.
Democratic lawmakers are scrambling to finish negotiating a social spending and climate change bill.
We're still talking.
Nothing is done until it's done.
I'm not giving up, and I'm not going to give up until the deal is signed. President Biden heads to Europe today for a climate summit where he'd like to promote an agreement in front of other world leaders.
They're looking at the president's commitment to making a historic investment in addressing the climate crisis.
The president's delaying his departure and is expected to attend a House Democratic caucus meeting this morning where he'll ask them to vote on an infrastructure bill the Senate passed earlier this year.
If by the time that he leaves, if he can present us with a deal, we will look at it.
The progressive wing of the party has withheld its support until the Senate can pass the Build Back Better social and climate plan.
And we owe it to the president to move forward. Take a vote on this, on the infrastructure bill. It's the only thing we have is bipartisan.
Moderate Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have concerns about the cost, which has already been negotiated down from $3.5 trillion to under $2 trillion.
They are a significant minority, think that they have a right to determine what the rest of the Congress should be doing.
Paid family leave and a Medicare expansion that includes dental coverage may be on the chopping block, while free pre-K appears safe. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
19 Republican senators voted for the infrastructure bill back in August. Democrats hold a slim majority in both chambers. Republicans have not offered any support for the social and climate bill. A nasty nor'easter is tearing up the northeastern portion of the U.S. Communities in the south rocked by another round of tornadoes that we spoke about earlier. I talked Laura Podesta into coming back again because she can show us the damage that nearly a week's worth of extreme weather has caused across our country.
Take a look at this twister bearing down on portions of Orange County, Texas yesterday. And this is the aftermath. Homes in the town of Morrisville decimated. 45 minutes away in Lake Charles, Louisiana, more destruction from the same storm system. At least one person was rushed to the hospital with injuries. All this after a weekend that saw several tornadoes sweep through the Midwest.
Right now we're homeless. I have a 29-year-old with autism that his world has been rocked. I have to try to keep his routine. It's very hard.
In Missouri, a confirmed EF3 tornado ripped through homes, businesses, and power lines in Fredericktown on Sunday. A twister with that rating can bring winds up to 165 miles per hour. In the Northeast, residents today are cleaning up after the season's first nor'easter.
A transformer blew.
A fire erupted from an exploding transformer in the city of Brockton, Massachusetts, sending flames down power lines. And Massachusetts governor says hundreds of thousands lost power on Cape Cod.
Folks should remember the storm isn't finished and crews are working to make roadways and other infrastructure safe.
And though the nor'easter is moving away from shore now, another storm is predicted to follow in its wake. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
That second storm likely not to hit the definition of nor'easter, but still is going to impact the region with heavy rainfall and gusty winds tomorrow on into Saturday. Now in the south, severe weather does remain a threat along the Gulf Coast. We've seen that kind of ease up because it was part of that same system that we had, and that thing's receding from the south. Of course, a little reprieve to us because the range is going to stick with us all day long. All right, time now to turn our attention to our Something to Talk About this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, collecting things. A gentleman by the name of John Hotchkiss. Well, he started collecting tiny model cars in 2005 after cancer left him unable to work. Little things in life sometimes really do matter the most. He was hooked on his first one, and now his collection, some 6,000 of them. It says it's the reason that he kept going, getting up every morning and fighting the disease to learn more about the cars and the detail of them. Our question for you this morning is, if you do collect anything, what do you collect? 76% said other. Granted, we only have a limited amount of room. We can't put 87 different options on there. 12% of you with figurines, and 8% stamps. And we just did the story on the Queen Victoria stamp the other day. 4% say baseball cards, and I thought earlier, you know, since since I showed you the one that the KOM Weather Department collects, compliments of our great graphic artist Will York with the Braves in the World Series. There's David Justice, a figurine and a baseball card. We love it back here. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News. Here's how you can make your voice heard. Facebook page, KOM News Now Facebook page. Or you can go straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We're going to come back. I got birthdays and anniversaries on my list next. Let's see if the control room tells me different. We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Marvin Gibbs served in the United States Army from 1949 to 1952, where he was stationed in Germany. His hometown of Neosho Falls, we are proud to salute you, Sergeant Marvin Gibbs, this morning's four-state hero. We'll begin our list off with a smiling Jethro Cook. He's sealed in there tight, man. Safety first, big Jethro. He is celebrating his third birthday in Lamar. He actually celebrated a little bit ago, but I told him it was cool if we took it all the way through the weekend. And Jethro, I want you to know this comes with love from Grandma. Blaine Buchanan with an 8th birthday. A little trip out to the beach, it appears. Blaine, a very happy birthday to you in Jasper. And Mason Quinn Hounshaw, now 16. Mason, I want you to have a marvelous, marvelous 16th birthday. The Robinson twins, we've got Grant and Hunter. They're both turning 26. I would love to know if Mom staged that photo or if they did that for Mom. Anyway, Grant's in Neodesha, Hunter is in Thayer. A very happy birthday to both of you. Also turning 26, Tristan Thornton. What a gorgeous picture right there. Happy birthday to Tristan in Thayer. David Lawrence, that is obviously David on the left, and that is his recent new bride on the right. So congratulations to the Lawrences. And David, a very happy 53rd birthday to you. I want you to know this comes with love from Mom. The Lawrences, celebrating whether it be anything, they are in Lamar. And our good friend Ann Emerson is celebrating her 80th birthday. What a little throwback picture right there. And Ann, it's absolutely lovely. You haven't hardly changed at all. Miss you, miss seeing you, and hopefully we can catch up soon and have a marvelous birthday in Chanute. Christy Smith, I have a message to pass along to Miss Christy here. I have a special message from that gentleman there on the right who says, I love you, looking forward to many years of celebrating your special day from your very blessed husband. Very kind words from you, Mr. Smith, and a very happy birthday to you as well, Christy. Caitlin Simpson has a 15th birthday. Miss Caitlin is in Columbus. And the Coombs twins celebrating in the NAC. Kyler and Corbin, they are now the ripe old age of 8. Happy birthday, Coomses. Roy Tidd, he is celebrating his 37th in Iola. And the last one, Scott Goodian. A happy 57th birthday to Scott as he is down in little Afton Eagle country right there. Happy birthday, Scott. Happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this October the 28th. Or maybe you like Jethro. Maybe you like Jethro and you celebrated it earlier this week and we're just like, no. Party's going to commence all week because we're this Jethro. I'm making Jethro. I know you're only 3. You are now the decider of how long birthday weeks get to go on. So no pressure. And if anybody has a problem with that, you need to call Jethro because at 3 years old, I put that responsibility in his capable hands. That's where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, and when you're there, that's also where you can sign up to be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. That's special deals from 4 state businesses. It's as easy as going to KOAMnewsnow.com to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. It'd be a good day to do anything online, that's for sure, and try to stay out of being outside. We got this mess right here. The it's gonna rain pretty much all day long. We've been looking at the one right in the middle, but let's work west to east because this one out in Independence, Montgomery County, between Indy and Coffeyville, coming down on 169. It's throwing down heavy rain as well. Then we've got, as we move through, we've got one in Labette County. It is filtering down into a little bit into northeast Oklahoma. Speaking of northeast Oklahoma, down here in Ottawa County, look at this. Ottawa, Cherokee, Crawford, all the way to Bourbon. with very, very heavy rains involved with that. A little bit of it crosses the state line. Heavy rain coming down around Highway 43 in between Lamar and Jasper. It's yet really to get to 49. And then this little section right here, this is of particular interest because that heavy rain that we're now getting in Vernon County, well, that will match up exactly with where that flood watch is for the Little Osage River. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.